Hello dear pedagogy students, and welcome to one more video in our series, How to Teach the Skills. Today we are going to work with one of the systems, actually not one of the skills. We are going to learn how to teach vocabulary strategically. So please get your notebook ready, Cornell Notes format or whatever you want, because we are going to do a lot of tasks while you watch this video. Okay, are you ready? Let's start. The objectives are to explore different key ideas and concepts regarding vocabulary learning and to explore strategies that you can use with the children at schools for teaching them vocabulary. The first activity you are going to do in your notebook or Cornell Notes format is this warm-up activity. On a piece of paper, write as many words as you can think of when you hear the word soccer. Let's do it. You can pause the video for this. Okay, did you do something like this? Tony Buzan proposed a strategy called mind mapping because according to his theory, we think radiantly. We don't think it in lists. So if you did a list, you may want to try to revisit the way you're thinking your vocabulary because you might be losing opportunities to memorize and learn even more words. So, vocabulary teaching 1. Encourage students to use mind maps over lists. Mind maps make the processes of remembering and retrieving much easier. Do you know who this person is? You might not know. He is Wilkins. And Wilkins, in 1972, said that without grammar, very little can be conveyed. But without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. If you have a lot of words, that is going to help you express yourself better. If you have a lot of grammatical structures, you may know how to structure things. Yes, that's okay. But you may fall short into how to express yourself. So it's very important for you as a learner and for you as a future teacher to make a big emphasis on the teaching of vocabulary in your lessons. Now, do you agree or disagree with this statement? What do you think? What does it take to know a word? That's a very important question that we have to ask ourselves. I'm going to go to this corner now. So there are different things. Today we're going to learn words in Spanish. Well, just, to say that we're learning something. So, to learn a word, we need to know its form. We also need to know its meaning, right? So, for example, if we're thinking about this word in Spanish, we have the word, we have the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet. It's important to teach it to students, even though there is research that proves otherwise. In my opinion, I think it helps a lot in the learning of vocabulary. Then, if we learn the meaning of a word, we are not going to learn just one meaning, but we have to learn the different meanings. Remember that in English, we have one word to say many different things. So, for example, here we have two possible meanings for the word that you see on the card. So you may want to take notes about this, not about the word, but about the form and the meaning. So, how do learners learn words? Why don't you stop the video for 1 second and write your predictions? What do you think? How do you learn words? Okay, when people are learning words, there are different processes that take place. First of all, people label objects, right? So we have real words and objects that are easy to label or name. Let's think about textbooks. If you have a textbook in the levels 1 and 2, you're always going to have labeling activities. So, for example, parts of the body, parts of the house, fruits, vegetables, colors, clothing, all this proper or tangible words that are easy to label because that is the first process a brain goes through when learning vocabulary. Then, if you think about levels 3 and 4 in any books, you're going to start seeing activities for categorizing these words. So we're going to start categorizing them by type of word, for example. So is it a noun, a verb, part of speech? Is it a noun, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb? Is it, for example, if you're classifying animals like in our example in the slide, if we have a label, we just say dog. But if you have a categorizing, we can categorize the different types of dog, right? Then, if you see levels 5 and 6 in a series, then you're going to see network building. This is where we construct a complex web of of words. Words are not isolated, but they belong to families, they belong to taxonomies, and so we locate them with different words altogether. So that's why when you have a textbook, you have the same type of words, let's say, for every different level, but they upgrade. So for example, if we're talking about fruit and vegetables and food in general, in a beginner level, you just have the names of the words, you know, tomatoes, potatoes, etc. Then in the second levels, you're going to start having the pyramid, for instance, so carbohydrates, protein, etc., so that students can categorize those words. But then in the higher levels, you're not going to have any naming or any wording like that. You're going to have, for example, eating disorders. So bulimia and anorexia, what are they? What do they do to people, and how do people eat when they have these disorders? So the idea is to upgrade the level of thinking of students as we progress in showing them vocabulary. So let's practice. We are going to learn 5 words in Spanish. Actually, they are 5 Colombian words. So we have mogolla, ajiaco, chanclas, estropajo, and guascas. Okay, let's see. So the first process is to label them. So we are going to label them. I'm going to show you that's a mogolla. This is a ajiaco. This is a chancla. This is an estropajo, and these are guascas. You guys have a very huge advantage, which is the internet. When we were learning English, or when we started teaching English, we had to make our own flashcards. We had to go to magazines and cut and paste drawings or draw ourselves, which was a disaster. But you guys now have the internet, so you just have access to millions and millions of amazing images that you can use to show your students the vocabulary that you're trying to teach. So vocabulary teaching tip 2. Even though it is not always easy, try to have images of the words you are teaching. It really makes a difference in students' minds. So when preparing your activities for vocabulary, try to always have some sort of visual image. If it's from a book, if it's from the internet, some flashcards, or realia. Students love realia. So the second process we do is categorizing. So we are going to categorize, for example, mogolla. So it's a type of bread, sweet but not sugary like mojicon, whole wheat or white, breakfast or snack bread type, great for coffee, right? So when we categorize, we start giving characteristics to the words and start putting them into categories. Well, yeah, it's what the name says. Okay, how would you categorize ajiaco? Please pause the video and write your categorization of this word. Okay. So I hope you said something like it's soup. It's made out of potato. It's from the region, from the, I don't know, Cundiboyacense region. Well, actually it's from Bogota, right? It's the most representative dish of Bogota. Every foreigner wants to try it. Yeah, there are many different ways to categorize this. Now, network building. To what networks does the word estropajo belong to, for example? So think about that word. Okay, it's a plant, yeah. It dries out. You have to dry out the fruit of this plant, because the estropajo is the fruit, yeah. You can make bath products with it, yeah. And it has transformed into loofah. The concept of estropajo, as we know it, you know, taken out from the plant, has been processed, and they have made a loofah, which is synthesized. Actually, just a little trick, a little tip. Loofah is the word estropajo in English. Okay, so vocabulary teaching tip 3. Have students perform several operations with words for them to really get them. It's not enough to just present vocabulary and assume that students are going to know it by heart just because you presented it. It is important that you go over and over with different activities so that students actually internalize the vocabulary. So, when presenting new vocabulary to students, it is important to use realia. Realia is reality, you know, reality object. So if I'm showing to my students colors, something that I could do would be to actually, you know, bring the colors in and show them and have them touch them and sense them, right? TPR, remember the method, total physical response. It's a great way. That's why we have songs and chants for everything when you are for little kids, because you know it actually helps in digesting the information much better. You remember head, shoulders, knees, and toes because you touched them when you were learning that. So it's important to also include TPR in your teaching of vocabulary. Then we have visual aids. It's very important what I was mentioning. So we have flashcards, wall charts, transparencies or slides. Now you have the advantage of having PowerPoint, so you can bring in a PowerPoint full of slides with beautiful colors and very illustrative images. Board drawings, yeah, even though it's not the easiest, if you have a talent or a knack for drawing, use it. So vocabulary teaching tip 4. Use a variety of resources to present information to students. Involve your culture as much as you can to make vocabulary learning meaningful. In that sense, we say, if you're teaching something about French culture, bring something French. It's always nice and easy, and it also helps make connections. Remember, it's all about making connections in students' brains. So, when we put words to work, it's not only enough to learn the words, but we have to work with them. So there are different kinds of tasks that we can perform with the words. So we have, for example, decision-making tasks, we have production tasks, and we have games. Let's see each one of them in turn. So decision-making tasks, we can have 3 different types, which are identifying, selecting, and matching. You might remember from your English textbooks some of these types of activities. Identifying, so for example, you see a drawing with lots of colors, and it says identify the orange, the yellow, the blue in the different clothing or the different people in the picture. Selecting, it's pretty similar to identifying, because to select you first have to identify, so it's like these are tandem processes. Then matching, you take the ones you identified and you put them together in pairs. Okay, so for example, this activity, choose the odd one out in each group. We have Goya, Mojicón, Roscón, Yogurt. So which one is the different one? If you said yogurt, you were right. Ajiaco, sancocho, bandeja paisa, mondongo. Bandeja paisa, that's correct. Chancla, top, jean, escoba. Escoba. So, in here, we ask students to choose one word that is different from the rest, but they should know the 4 words to be able to choose which one is different. So, when you do this kind of exercise, remember to always include all the vocabulary you have taught in the course and recycle. Then we have production tasks. In production tasks, we have 2 kinds, completion and creation. Completion tasks are our typical find somebody who or fill in the gaps, right? We complete something. And creation tasks is where students create something. They come up with something, create a story, write a storyboard, write an essay, a paragraph, etc. So for example here, choose the best word to complete the sentence. Uso el para restregarme cuando me baño. Which one is it? Yes, it's surupa. So, in here, we complete something that is given. We have a part of the sentence and we have to complete it. So students need to know the word to be able, need to know the 4 words in here to be able to complete, right? We also have games. All this information has been taken from Scott Thunberry, How to Teach Vocabulary. This book is available at the main library. If you want to take it out and find out about each one of these games, or if you want to go online and find a myriad of games that are available, you can. So it is important that you consider that games are also a great way to get your students to think about vocabulary. There is one that is back to board. We did it actually in class sometime. It's when one student sits in front of the board, the teacher writes a word on the board the student cannot see, and then the members of the group explain the word to the student. So the student needs to recognize the word to be able to perform. So as you can see, the more activities you do with words, the better students are going to learn them. So it is important to also remember how people remember words. Words first go into the short-term memory. Then we expect them to go to the working memory. That is when we focus on words long enough to perform operations on them, all the operations we have just seen. And then they go into the long-term memory, right? The idea is that they all go to the long-term memory, because then in that way we can recall and remember them. Okay, so now you are ready to plan your vocabulary activity, are you? Well, probably not, but at least you know how to teach vocabulary. So please take some notes. Make sure you have your notes with you, because we are going to need them for the lesson planning stage of this class. Good luck with this, and you can go to the next station now.